sometimes you're asking questions that are really hard to answer because, the team's ready to go. They have a good week of preparation. Why we go out like that? I mean, nobody wants to go out and coach that way. Nobody wants to go out and play that way. Nobody wants to go out and lose that way. We have too much pride, and these are great opportunities for me to coach this football team and to lead this football team and to instruct this football team. And until we've got some young guys that are learning this for the first time, and kind of going through a little adversity. And again, we're trying to put ourselves in positions to be a better football team in the AFC. And sometimes it looks brilliant, and then there's days like today, not so good.
Welcome to Jags A.M. November 13th. Kainani, Stevens, Brian Sexton, John Oehser with you here today. We're going to try to make some sense of what we saw yesterday. A lot of questions. I'm not sure we have all the answers, but we're going to talk through some things. Brian, that was not what we expected, and in a way that I didn't expect either.
Well, I tell you,
just that lack of effort, too.
I think it was on Jags weekend in the huddle as we finished that show up last week. I said, I think that this team will prove that they are the best team in the AFC. I expect them to play well. I didn't say whether they would win or not because I don't know that you could with a team like San Francisco. I walked out of here last night thinking, I've done this a long time. How did I not see that coming?
Well, I think they got punched a little bit early and maybe stunned a little bit. And I think that sort of contributes, Kai, to what you're talking about with, sometimes that looks like a lack of effort, focus, whatever. I think you get shell-shocked and gut-punched and didn't recover. Some of the players talked about I think it was Trevor talked about not responding to adversity. I thought the sum-up quote from Doug was when he talked about telling the team, you haven't done anything yet. To me, Doug's really good during his post-game press conference, sort of tying things up and telling you what he's thinking. Remember how sort of frustrated and angry he was after Houston? Yeah. This was more of, these guys got to realize we got a lot to do, and we haven't accomplished anything. So let's go.
I don't know whether you guys are. I'm a body language person. I like to go to the field before the game and see if I can get a feel. And all week in the locker room, there was no lack of energy. There was no lack of purpose. There was no lack of focus. Right? I could never have told you that was going to happen based on what I saw an hour before the game. I mean, so what I saw from Doug in that shot that we just watched off the top is controlled anger. I mean, the way he was jerking his head. I mean, he's mad.
You could see him this whole second half of that game. He was on the sideline coaching mad.
But he also knows, as the leader, right? You got 2 division games coming up here, and I'll go more into that in my hot take. You win these 2, you put that one in the rearview mirror. So he can be angry, and as he said, hey, look, we haven't done anything yet, and he's exactly right. But he couldn't just lose it like a fan can, right? Or a media member can and just go off. You got to be under some control to get this team back on the track because, as we're about to talk about, I'll let you go there.
All right, let's do our big things. Our first big thing for us today is bad game or bad team. Doug tried to sum things up after the game yesterday. Here's what he had to say.
I thought the team was ready. We failed to execute on the opening drive defensively, and we failed to execute on the opening drive offensively. And that's the part that is disappointing because these guys were ready to go, and to have the lack of execution like we did early in the football game just kind of snowballed from there.
Brian, we just talked about it. You felt the team was ready to go. Doug felt the team looked like they were ready to go, practiced well, but they got off track so quickly.
Yeah. This is not a bad team. They had a really bad game. As bad a game as we've seen all year. As bad a game as the first half of the Chargers game felt last year. But they're not a bad team. That's why he didn't see it coming. That's why we didn't see it coming. The question has to be asked, what's wrong with this team that in big moments, Kansas City this year, you could say the Texans because that's a divisional game, and this one, at home, that you perform like that you take the body blows of 2 scoring drives and 2 3-and-outs, and you can't recover. That's what everyone's asking themselves this morning. How do you get that result? And I'm not sure that anyone can answer it.
Well, I think Doug, again, during his presser, talked a little bit about executing poorly on the first 2 drives, offensively and defensively. The first 2 drives, offense, we don't know what's called, so it's hard to know exactly what happened. But there were plays where it just looked like a couple guys getting driven back into the quarterback. There's also one play where it just looked like everybody on the offensive line was going a different direction. Doug sort of alluded to that. Well, they know how to run that play. And I don't know which play he was talking about, but he used that phrase. So I think they played bad early. And we all know the 49ers are a team that's so good early in the game when they're on that those couple of plays, but there's no margin for error in the league, especially against a team like that. That's where it got out of hand. Why couldn't you reel it back in? I think they got close. Good drive at the end of the first half. That felt like, okay, we're back to within 7. But then that mature, good, elite team that's used to being there does what? 3 at the end, 7 at the start of the second half. They had the ability to make the Jaguars pay for what they've been doing wrong for 5 weeks. Other teams didn't have that ability.
And it was one of those things where it felt worse than it actually was at certain points in the first half. The score, like technically they were in the game, but it was just the feel of it was off.
Right.
And it's not a bad team. And I think that's why it gets so frustrating because there is talent there. If I thought they were bad, then I wouldn't, I would be like, oh, of course. But
Doug said they haven't done anything yet.
They have not done anything.
So they're not a great team, and they're not an elite team.
And he's alluded to that a couple of times this year. That's been, I think, a theme of his that he's watched. Sometimes it's not been there, meaning, but I think sometimes he thinks it is there. I would think that this week, these players will realize at some point from Doug that they haven't done anything. I think that message will be clear this week.
They're 6-3. They're 1 game off the AFC lead, right? So before you start thinking all is lost, as I heard people talking about as they were leaving last night, hold on.
Still in
Which,
this.
by the way, is our next big thing.
Yeah, that's our next big thing.
Good segue, Brian.
We love a segue.
Done this a little bit.
Hold on. Big thing number 2 is turnovers. We made that a key point before when we were talking about the game before, what we think the keys to victory would be, not turning the ball over. That's a problem that the Jaguars have had lately and came up to bite them yesterday. Doug talked about it.
You got to feel the pain and embarrassment of today, and that's what it is. It's terrible. It's one of the worst games I've probably played in my career. So, I feel that, and I take responsibility for that. And it's just we couldn't do anything right today. So, but you got to flush it too. I mean, that's the thing is sucks, but the reality is a 31-point loss, and that's crazy to even say. But 31-point loss is the same as a 3-point loss, and we lost today, and we got to move on. We're the same team we were 5 hours ago when we came in here today, and we didn't play like it today. We played terrible just across the board, including myself. So that's where we're at. That's the reality of it. Yeah, we're gonna wallow in it tonight, and we're gonna watch the tape tomorrow and kind of relive it, which is gonna suck. And then we're gonna move on, and we're gonna get ready for Tennessee. I mean, that's the biggest game of the year is our next one.
So that's Trevor going over some of his issues yesterday, and he owned it. John, I'll give him full credit for it. Not that he doesn't ever take ownership of what he does, but you do want to hear that from your quarterback when they play bad and own it and kind of try to move forward from that.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's accurate that the turnovers, quote, cost them that game. The game was getting away already when they started committing the turnovers.
Yes.
But in the NFL, when you don't turn the ball over, you give yourself a chance to get back in it. And that's what they took away from themselves, I thought, was we've all seen amazing comebacks. This team had amazing comebacks last year where you thought they were out of it. If Christian doesn't fumble that ball down near the goal line, now it's a 10-point game. Probably against San Francisco, you don't pull that back in, but you never know. So I thought Trevor's game, I thought his comments about himself, maybe weren't so much about the turnovers, but just about the overall play. I don't think he was very good yesterday, even without the turnovers. But I think some of that was what was going on up front.
Well, the score got away from him because of that. After the first 2 turnovers, Trevor's fumble and the interception, they held him to no points. They made them punt back to the Jaguars. In fact, after Trevor's fumble, where he was sacked by Nick Bosa, that was where the Jaguars got the ball at the 1-yard line and then went and got the field goal. So the defense stepped up there, but it was the other 2 turnovers that they were able to turn into points and pull the score away. 12 turnovers in the last 5 games now, right? I mean, that is completely unsustainable, and I said it last week. They were able to get away with it against the Colts and the Saints and the Steelers, who were not playing at an elite level. San Francisco, Cincinnati, Baltimore, the better teams will do that to you. The turnovers have to be fixed. That's obvious, and I don't know how you change it. I also want to say Trevor should never have thrown that ball that went through Tank Bigsby's hands. Shouldn't have thrown it. I mean, Bigsby, even if he catches it, and it was rifled to him, even if he catches it, he is 5 yards shy of the sticks. At some point, just take the sack, punt, and keep playing. That is the next level for him. When we talk about him not being elite yet, that's the next level. Don't give them the ball at midfield.
Just knowing when to let it go.
Well, and the fumble, take care of it.
Yeah.
And, people ask me, why don't you talk about Trevor's turnovers? Well, we do talk about Trevor's turnovers. One reason we don't spend a lot of time talking about it is I don't know how you suggest fixing it.
Yeah.
Because it's really just a matter of, Christian Kirk ironically said last week, just concentrating in the moment. He fell victim to it again yesterday. It's an odd little trend going on right now. It's not little, but it really is threatening to define the season. And I wouldn't have thought that was going to be the case for the season.
I mean, they came into the game leading the league with 18 takeaways, and now they've got 17 giveaways to go with it. So, I mean, you're negating the effort that your defense is giving you. And in all fairness to Trevor, he couldn't set his feet yesterday. He was under a relentless attack, and the Jaguars' offensive line did not play a good game when we expected that we might see that with Walker Little in the lineup. And what we expected from the beginning of the season, he never had a chance to settle his feet. I don't think it's fair for me to interpret that he panicked, but it looked at times like it was, uh-oh.
I would have.
Yeah, I would have too.
I mean, this is the first of all the starting offensive linemen. This is what they wanted their offensive line to look like, and it was one of the worst games we've seen them play. Our final big thing this week is the panic button. Is it time to panic? I think we've kind of talked through that a little bit, but Brian, it's not panic button time. You got to reset, use this as a moment. We talked a lot about last year, that Detroit game was a reset moment. You got to reset after this, quickly.
I'm going to hit on this in my hot take, but you win the next 2 games against Tennessee and Houston. And it will not be easy based on what we saw yesterday. But if you win the next 2 games, you forget this one. You put it in the rearview mirror. The Cowboys got their doors blown off by the San Francisco team while we were in London on Sunday Night Football, 42-10. Tony Dungy told me when he was here last month, it was one of the most dominant performances he had seen in recent years. And yet they got back, dusted themselves off. They've won 3 of 4. They could have won 4 of 4. They could have won in Philadelphia if not for Dak Prescott stepping out of bounds. You can rebound. Look at Detroit. They got blown out in Baltimore, 38-3, a humbling, embarrassing loss. And yet they won a big game yesterday in Los Angeles, and they have won 7 games. You can do this. You can do this. Do not panic. This is not a bad football team. And I say do not panic. I'm not saying it to the people who are watching this. I'm saying it to the guys in that locker room. You can't panic. You just have to go and do your job.
Well, there's no point in panic. I mean, panicking, all of a sudden you have people in the streets.
Screaming.
Is that what you
all
want?
this.
I mean,
Cats and dogs living together.
yeah, it's probably a little bit of my hot take, but there's not that many takes to have off this game, so if I overlap a little bit. They've been really good under Doug at responding to things like this. They won 5 straight after Detroit last year, 5 straight after Houston this year. To me, there's no reason, based on what I've seen from this team through 9 games, there's no reason to think that over the last 8 this year that they can't get 5 or 6. They've done it before. Just because you do that, so no, there's no reason to panic. What you wonder is, how do you fix the things they're talking about fixing when you haven't done it through 9 games? Yeah. That's why they do what they do for a living. It's their job to fix it.
I think the defense masked a lot of those issues for them so far this season, so we'll have to go over those things. Not a lot of highlights, but we're going to look at the tape coming up after the break right here on Jags A.M.
Jaguars fans, huddle up for the best defense against expensive car repairs, CarShield. Score big with the nation's #1 automotive protection company, CarShield. They offer affordable plans that cover over 6,000 parts and systems in your car, truck, or SUV. Don't miss any Jaguars action this season with a car breakdown. Call the MVPs at CarShield for the best coverage ever. Call 800-471-1223. 800-471-1223. Go Jags!
Since 2014, there's been only one official home builder of the Jaguars, Dream Finders Homes. With quality built homes and a speedy move-in process, we're in 20 plus communities in the best locations across Northeast Florida. Dreamfinders Homes is everywhere you want to live. So get off the sidelines, Jags fans, and get into the game. Let Dreamfinders help you navigate your home purchase and offer great interest rates. Visit dreamfindershomes.com for all your move-in ready homes and step up your game.
Frank Frangie here. When you want barbecue in Jacksonville, you want Bono's Pit Barbecue. You can find Bono's locations all around town and on game day at Everbank Stadium, because Bono's is the official barbecue of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Over 70 years of authentic Southern Pit Barbecue. We are the local barbecue joint in BBQval for generations of people in Jacksonville. Go to bonosbarbecue.com to learn more or call 904-880-8310 today. And remember, if you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
Welcome back to Jags A.M. presented by CarShield. You can call CarShield now if your car's out of manufacturer's warranty. Don't get stuck with expensive mechanical and computer repairs. Call CarShield now. Also, you can sign up for your furry friend for the Jaguars' official four-legged fan club for pets presented by Forever Vets Animal Hospital. Your pet will receive access to exclusive merchandise, events, sweepstakes. That's through the 2023 season. Visit jaguars.com/promotions/four-legged fan club to sign up today. We're back here on Jags A.M. My dog had to listen to me rewatching some of the film yesterday and all the profanities coming out of my mouth, so I'm sure he was a little startled to what was going on. Not a lot of highlights to go over, guys, but we do have some stuff we want to look at from yesterday. Some of the key things we talked about, but turnovers, and I think just the way some of them came about was what I was shocked by, because we talked so much about protecting the football, and they've felt like they had turned a corner in some respects, but it really reared its head yesterday.
Well, the Christian Kirk one is the hardest one to watch, because with just over 5 minutes left to play, you've got an opportunity to put yourself, within 10 points, and that one took it away. But all of them are difficult, because 4 in a game, the most in the season, take you to 17 on the year, and there's not many teams you're going to beat when you turn the ball over 4 times, but not a team like that.
Yeah, the last one was a 4th down where he's throwing it down the field, so whatever. I think the one that has to start working on is the fumbles in the pocket. I think Trevor's got, 13 turnovers this year, I think, are, quote, his. So that you're giving field position away, which they did a lot yesterday. The field position was a big deal early in the game. The 49ers didn't have to drive as far as other offenses were having to drive. Defense did a great job after that turnover of sort of reeling it back in. That's loose, callous disregard for the ball.
Oh, yeah, I had to go way back in time.
Which is what Tom's old phrase was. And it drives coaches crazy, and it should, because you can't win doing that.
You have to be. Play to the whistle, too. I mean, the thing that got me on the Christian Kirk one was just the optics of him completely giving up on the play as they turn around and run it back. And yeah, they got bailed out because the 49ers came on the field. Otherwise, that would have been a touchdown. Yeah. And it kills me because it's Christian Kirk, who's one of the best character guys on this team. He doesn't do that, and he does it in a terrible moment. And it's one of the second or third times we've seen something like this in the Colts game when you had the play with Tank, and you're like, oh, it's the young guys, and they're not following up and playing to the whistle, and they run that ball back, and that looked ridiculous. And now I'm seeing it again.
Wouldn't you hate to be in that meeting room, the offensive meeting room this morning, when this play gets run over and over and over again?
They need to see it, and they need to get mad, because I watch that and I get mad. Other than Evan Ingram and your quarterback running all the way down.
That says something about
I'll tell you
him.
that. I will say, after watching that did make me feel better about that effort, but the beginning of it just infuriating.
In that meeting room is going to see Trevor Lawrence, the leader, running all the way down the field and making a tackle that had the Niners upset, right? Diving at the guy at the end. But it doesn't matter. The quarterback ran it down. You should too.
Let's look at some of those sacks. We've talked a lot about the offensive line, but some of that, I mean, I'm not a professional football player. I'm not going to pretend I know what they're scheming up there, but that was frustrating to watch. Trevor never felt safe there, and then some of the decisions he was making based off that didn't look great either.
Well, it looked, not to blame one person, but Walker Little got pushed back a few times. But it wasn't just one guy. It just looked in this game like the 49ers front was more big and powerful than the Jaguars front.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that wasn't what it was, but that's what it appeared. I think from what Doug said in the presser, there were also some plays early where they just weren't executing right. So you say, well, they can't block them, they can't. Well, if you're not doing what's called right, then that's going to be more difficult too. It's so difficult to analyze something like this because it's so clearly everything going wrong.
Right.
But it was bad.
I thought that the rookie right tackle had his day with Joey Bosa, but when Bosa made the most pressures, he came from different spots. They lined him up over the center at times because they had identified a spot that had been pushed back a lot this year, right? So it's not like you can just say, well, the rookie right tackle struggled. When you look at the tape, when you watch it again, you see that it was everybody that struggled. And there were times where you would see both offensive tackles standing there watching. I mean, play to the whistle, at least, right? Which is something that they're going to be yelled at about. And these guys are professional football players. They'll get yelled at today, and then they'll have to watch the tape again, and it'll be in their head that I got to come play better.
And it should be. Stay with us after the break. We're going to go over some of our hot takes for this team here on Jags A.M.
Jaguars fans, huddle up for the best defense against expensive car repairs, CarShield. Score big with the nation's #1 automotive protection company, CarShield. They offer affordable plans that cover over 6,000 parts and systems in your car, truck, or SUV. Don't miss any Jaguars action this season with a car breakdown. Call the MVPs at CarShield for their best coverage ever. Call 800-471-1223. 800-471-1223. Go Jags!
Since 2014, there's been only one official home builder of the Jaguars, Dream Finders Homes. With quality-built homes and a speedy move-in process, we're in 20-plus communities in the best locations across Northeast Florida. Dream Finders Homes is everywhere you want to live. So get off the sidelines, Jags fans, and get into the game. Let Dream Finders help you navigate your home purchase and offer great interest rates. Visit DreamFindersHomes.com for all your move-in ready homes and step up your game.
The kick is up. It's good!
Score winning sub deals this Jaguars regular season at Firehouse Subs. Get 2 medium subs for just $10 after any game when the Jaguars kick a field goal of 40 yards or more. It's a bold deal for the bold city. Sign up at firehousesubs.com/field goals for Firehouse for offer details and to automatically receive this offer when you use your Firehouse Subs rewards account. Redeemable only at participating Jacksonville and Orlando area restaurants. Only available on the Firehouse Subs app and online ordering.
Jaguars fans, you can head to Publix on November 14th from 5 to 6 and University Square to meet some of your favorite Jacksonville Jaguars players for a special appearance. That's Publix, located at 2875 University Boulevard in Jacksonville, Tuesday, November 14th from 5 to 6 to meet Jaguars players. Now, Move the Freight. Magellan Transport voted the coolest office space in Jacksonville. You can apply online at MagellanLogistics.com. Back here on Jags A.M., presented by CarShield. We're in the Hyundai Studios, and we're going to go over some of our hot takes. I think I don't know if we're probably all on the same page with some of our hot takes, but what's your hot take, Brian?
Well, the AFC South title game will be 2 weeks from yesterday in Houston. Look, the goal of this season is to win the division, which ensures you a playoff game. And if you do well enough, a home playoff game. So for these guys to win the division is the key. You're 2-1 in the division now, and in the next 2 weeks you can get to 4-1. You would be split with the Texans. You would have a 1-game advantage. And look, the Titans at the end of the year with a rookie quarterback. You win the division if you win these next 2 games, and you accomplish a major goal for yourself for this season. So think about these next 2 weeks as being the whole season. Don't be thinking about prime time in December, and the Bengals and the Ravens and all. Next 2 weeks, tell the story. And if you win the next 2 weeks and get yourself to 8-3 with the division title pretty much in your back pocket, you can put this one behind you.
Here's how crazy this league is. If they don't sweep the Colts, it's basically a 3-way tie for first place right now. So everybody's forgotten about the Colts and kind of say, well, those wins don't matter. The Colts are bad.
They're 5-5.
Well, the Colts, if you don't beat the Colts are 7-3 and leading the division.
Yeah.
So I don't think the Colts are a great team. But my point is that's how much these division games swing things. Your sweep of the Colts has put the perception that they're bad and they're away in your rear view. They're only 2 games out. Beat the Texans and the Titans, exactly what Brian's talking about. All of a sudden you feel like you feel good about yourself again.
Yep.
John, we're going to talk about your hot take because it's about following up that performance we saw.
Yeah.
Not only do you need to win, you need to play very well next game.
Well, it's what I talked about earlier. The worst loss will require the best response. This is the worst loss to Doug Pederson era. It's probably not that much different than the Detroit loss last year, where you just came out of it thinking, well, this team's not going anywhere. The Houston loss, sort of the same thing earlier this year. They won 5 in a row after both of those games. This will take your best response because I think the expectations going into this were so much different. And now it's going to take your best response because you're going into your toughest stretch. Not necessarily this game, but the stretch ahead. If you look at it on paper, the Texans have an easier schedule than the Jaguars over the next 4 or 5 games. The Jaguars, I think most people looking at it objectively would say they're going to have to sort of catch the Texans a little bit because the Texans' schedule, except for the Jaguars, the Broncos are on there. There are teams with less than 500 records. Jaguars play a lot of good teams coming up. They have to go prove themselves again. Doug Pederson talked last week about it not being a prove-it game. Well, in the NFL, I think he would rephrase that now. I don't think he necessarily meant that. In the NFL, they're all prove-it games, and they're going to be prove-it games for this team going forward now.
I always tell my kids, it isn't what happens to you, it's what you do about it, right? I mean, that's a truism in life. It is about your response, and I am sure that that is a message that will resonate in these hallways throughout the course of the week. How do you respond? I asked Doug yesterday in his news conference, if the Niners were truly a desperate team, right? They're a good team, as we saw. But if they're truly a desperate team, do you want your team to come out and play desperate? And the answer is no, you don't want them to play desperate because it sounds like you're just heaving it all over the place. But you want there to be an air of desperation, like we have to show ourselves and our fans that we are not that team. They are desperate to prove to themselves how good they can be. Okay? Well, you get it against the Titans team, who came in with Joshua Dobbs last year on a 6-game losing streak and took you to the brink. This is not the same Titans team. They've got some good players on defense, and Derrick Henry has shown this year that given the right circumstances, he can make things easy on whoever's the quarterback. You better buckle up.
My hot take this week is it's going to be a big week for the offense because if Zay Jones could return, I have hope for this offense. I have not seen this offense do anything that I found proficient, except maybe Travis Etienne at points all by his lonesome, to give me any hope for this offense right now. I came into this season, we all had very high hopes, high scoring, maybe one of the best in the league, but they haven't been able to get it done. We've talked about Zay playing a crucial role on third down or just being that quick out, a target for Trevor that he trusts. And they miss him. Not only that, the lack of communication we've been seeing on offense. There's plays yesterday where, he's messing things up with Christian Kirk, one of his other safety targets, if you will, and things just don't look right. And maybe the playbook is centered too much about what Zay Jones brings to them, but they haven't evolved with that to this point. We're 10 weeks in. It's a little late for me to say, it's going to happen. Until Zay Jones returns, I don't think we're going to see much unless they completely flip this thing around.
And who would have ever thought that in a year that you add Calvin Ridley to the offense, that we would be talking about Zay Jones being one of the most important parts of it.
Sure.
John, we've been talking about, what this defense might look like without Trayvon Walker, who, by the way, maybe played his best game as a pro yesterday. Yeah. He was collapsing the pocket, hitting the quarterback. But we can't talk about that because they gave up 34 points. But he played really well. You don't want to see what this defense looks like without Trayvon Walker. Mm-hmm. Well, we're seeing how important Zay Jones is by his absence.
Yeah, and I think it's more subtle than it is, the Vikings lose Justin Jefferson, for example, and can't go to that guy. I think Zay's impact is more subtle, but I think it's really, really important, and I think it's really important on those key plays. It's such a game of plays and moments. They didn't convert either of their first 2 third down opportunities yesterday. They haven't been as good on third down. You convert 2 more of those a game, and it doesn't sound like a lot, but
drives a lot.
Convert 1 early yesterday, all of a sudden that game's, you're not as tilted in the other direction as you were. So a few plays can make a difference, and Zay Jones has a tendency to make a few plays a game.
Sure does. Stay with us. Coming up, we're going to preview what we got going on the rest of the week here on Jags A.M.
Jaguars fans, huddle up for the best defense against expensive car repairs, CarShield. Score big with the nation's #1 automotive protection company, CarShield. They offer affordable plans that cover over 6,000 parts and systems in your car, truck, or SUV. Don't miss any Jaguars action this season with a car breakdown. Call the MVPs at CarShield for the best coverage ever. Call 800-471-1223. 800-471-1223. Go Jags!
The 2023 season is pawsome. Introducing the Four-Legged Fan Club, the Jaguars' official fan club for pets. Presented by Forever Vets Animal Hospital, your furry friend can access exclusive merchandise, events, and sweepstakes throughout the season. Fan club members will be automatically entered to win the Pet of the Game sweepstakes with 2 Jags tickets and sideline passes for pet owners and the chance for your pet to be featured on the video boards as Pet of the Game. Visit jaguars.com/promotions/Four-Legged Fan Club to sign up.
Your hometown gate now has more ways to save. Introducing My Gate Rewards, a new loyalty program with member-exclusive savings and fuel discounts. Earn points on in-store purchases, take advantage of special offers, and save on products you love. Score free coffee, fountain drinks, pizza, and soft serve with Gate's frequent shopper clubs. Then use your points on savings at the pump. Download the My Gate Rewards app in the App Store today or ask a store associate for more information. Go from good to Gate.
Welcome back to Jags A.M. Jags fans, if you want customized Jaguars furniture for your home, check out zipchair.com to browse all customizable options. Zipchair is furniture made for fans. I want to take a moment now to thank our JEA's frontline teams for their critical services they provide to this community. Today, we'd like to recognize JEA's employee volunteers who have served over 4,000 hours this year to benefit those in need throughout our community. Thank you for helping to make Northeast Florida a better place.
I think there's a handful of things that I missed today that I have to be better. Just being honest to you guys, I didn't play well, and you're not going to win much in this league when the quarterback doesn't play well. So, I got to watch the tape and check some of that stuff out.
Trevor said they're going to be watching the tape today. I wouldn't want to be in that room either because I have a feeling it's not going to go very well, but they need to hear it right about now. This week, we're going to hear from Travis Etienne today, Rayshon Jenkins today. Doug, how much of it is watch the film, sit in it for a minute? How much of it is, okay, yeah, but we also got to turn the page?
It's a balance because we just talked about wanting them to have that desperation, some desperation, right? Mm-hmm. So you can't entirely let go of it, but at the same time, you got the Titans coming in here and they're bringing in a better defense than they had a year ago. Jeffrey Simmons, I think, is right there with Chris Jones in terms of being able to blow up your game plan. So they got a lot to focus on this week. That's going to be Doug's balance, right? He's the head coach. He's got to find a way to get this team to play on that razor's edge of angry about the way that they played, focused on the next 2 games.
Yeah, I don't worry about their mental approach, mainly because of Doug. I thought yesterday in the press conference he handled it well. It's always impressive when he's asked something tough after a game. He'll pause a second and think about it because he knows he wants to say the right things. He knows that sets a tone. I don't worry about him setting a tone. I think there are players in this locker room. It's a veteran enough locker room. They've responded to this before. I don't think that will be their issue going forward. I think it'll be more, can you stop doing the things, frankly, offensively that have gotten you in so much trouble that they continue to bite you. I think it remains more about execution than anything else.
Execution, acknowledging the mistakes. We're going to turn the page on Jags A.M. starting on Wednesday, so we'll see you then.